In this video, we are going to design a basic honeypot. In this, we will set up our Azure Sentinel, which is a SIEM, and connect it to our virtual machine, which acts as a honeypot. We will observe some live attacks, or also probably the brute force attacks from all around the world. We will also customize the PowerShell script to make sure that we can design a world map on Sentinel to make sure that we get all the geolocations of all the attackers, and that at the end we can integrate this into in our SIEM, and then where we can basically look on how and where all the people were who tried to get into our virtual machine. So before we get into it, I will just quickly show you a basic design of what we will create. So we will be using the Azure subscription, so we will do everything on cloud through Azure. We will create our virtual machine, which will be completely exposed. This we will see when I create the virtual machine, and we will use the log analytics workspace, where we will put in or save all the logs of where these attacks are coming from, and we will put this into the Sentinel, where we will design the map on which we can check as to all the geolocations of where these attacks came from. Yes, usually when we talk about SIEM or SIM, it's basically system information and event management. So it's a very important part of cybersecurity, and Azure Sentinel, also known as Microsoft Sentinel, is a cloud-native SIM tool. It is provided by Microsoft, and it's part of the Azure cloud computing platform, as you all know what Azure is. So what does SIM tool or like Sentinel do? It is basically used to collect, analyze, and correlate the event data from various sources which we will define, and to identify and respond to the potential security threats and incidents. What we will do, we won't necessarily respond to them, but we will just be detecting and identifying all the attacks where it comes from. So let's dive into it. For this, if you want to follow along, if you want to create it as well, you can go and get your own Microsoft Azure free trial account, and this would be more than enough for this whole project. So just like a quick information, if you're just interested in watching the attacks or watching the map at the end of how and where the people attacked and which countries, and making the whole overview, you can just go to this timestamp and like just watch the whole map, how it looks like, and yeah, if you're just interested in watching the attack map, then you can just go in this timestamp. The first thing that we will do is we will start creating our resource group, and you can basically name it whatever you want. We'll just name it make sure that you choose the right region. And then it's quickly created. We will then create our virtual machine, which basically will be exposed to the world once we make it online. It's just make sure that it's in the right resource group. You can name it whatever you want. Also select the right region for this as well. and I hope I find my region. And then make sure that you choose the username and password, and try to remember this username password, because this you will need when you basically log in to your account. You can name it anything, just remember it. And just click the licensing and then click on next, and then go on the networking, and then here where you can see the NIC network security group, just click on advanced and create new. We will create our own security group. Delete this one, and then this here, we just make sure that we keep everything any, as we want it to be exposed, and then keeping the priority the least. You can name this anything, we just keep it as it is, we do not change it, but you can name it whatever you want. Now you can go and click on review and create. And then once you see the validation passed, you can just go and click on create again. And the reason why we in general selected our own network security, it was to make sure that we let in all the traffic that we can see, because we want every person to make this as a vulnerable device, vulnerable machine, and make sure that it's available to everyone at this point, that everyone can discover and try to attack it or try to get into it. That's the only reason why, to make sure that it's quite discoverable. So this takes a while, it can be over a minute or a bit more, and so you can just let this happen. You will see here at times that it's deploying, and then you can just let it make sure that it's getting deployed, and once it's deployed, you will see it here that it's deployed. You will get a response. We'll go to the log analytics now and basically create our own workspace for log, and just create a new one here. Make sure that you put it into the right resource group, and you can name it whatever you want. So this is mainly used in general to, as we saw, that we will get all the logs of all the people who will try to get in or try to get into the virtual machine, and through this we will collect this data and put it into collect these logs and put it into our Sentinel, which we will create in a bit. So that's the sole purpose of why we create this analytics, the log analytics workspace, and we will later on do more things in it. Now you can just go and click on view and create, and after the validation is passed, just click on create. Now the next point is going on Microsoft Defender for Cloud. On this point, we will go to environment settings, make sure that you select your log once it's created, and as soon as it is created, you will see it here. So as you can see that now basically it's reloaded, and you can see your log analytics workspace. Click on it, and in the Defender plans, make sure that you turn on the server. We in general do not need to enable all plans, as we won't do anything with the SQL servers in this in our tutorial or in our project right now, so it's not necessary. So yeah, the only important thing right now is to enable the server, save it, and once you see that it's saved, go to data collection, and we want to collect all events, so click on all events and then click on save again. And this brings us to the part that we have now defined all the things that will come into this log analytics. And then now we go back to our log analytics workspace which we created, and we will just quickly confirm if our VM is created. You can go on log analytics, and then you can find virtual machines here, and you will see that as it's created, just click on connect to make sure that you connect this VM to your log analytics. It takes a few seconds, sometimes a minute, depending on the speed, and by the time you can always check it here. As soon as it's connected, till it's being done, we can go on our Sentinel and then create our Microsoft or Azure Sentinel and just add our log which we just made. That's all you have to do to create the Microsoft Sentinel for this. And here it will show you that it's successfully connected. The VM is still getting connected, so it takes a bit of time, as you can see. But by that time we can go to our VM as it's connecting and just copy this IP address, and we will use the remote desktop connection for this, and just paste and connect, and then it will show you credentials. Make sure that you use a different account, and then here you can type the username that you created at the start for this, and then the password that you typed in, and just click on OK. Make sure that you click yes, and after a few seconds, once it establishes the connection, you will see your virtual machine here. Make sure, as you don't get confused, this is the virtual machine which will load. It also takes a few seconds or up to a minute to load properly to get started initially. And you can also confirm if it's still getting connected, your log. So you can, for that, just wait. Here we can just, at this point of time, wait till it's get loaded. It also takes, it's the first booting, so it always takes a bit more time than usual. It also depends on your how strong your internet is, how good your device is. Often it can be that it loads up faster, but it completely depends on your system. So now that it's completely booted up, you can just make sure that these things in general are not important. Click them off. Then just go and accept. It's basically setting up your whole virtual machine. Initially, at the start, it's only the first time that you have to do it. You won't have to do it every single time that you turn it on. And as I said, it also takes time to boot up, depending upon your complete system and the internet connection. It's quite normal. Like, often it takes up to a minute. Sometimes it also takes much longer because it has things to load up. So that's no problem if it takes more than a minute, or can be up to 5 minutes for some people. That's completely fine. So once it's booted up, I just click yes, like it doesn't matter for us. You can go on directly at the start, can go on event viewer. And I will tell you why we need this, or what is the use of this once it's running. So here basically we will use the security logs for one particular thing, for one particular event number, and to generate this now. Like initially, when you turn it on for the first time, it can be that it also crashes the event viewer. That's also normal, or it takes a lot of time to load up. It happens with me often that it just crashes at the first time, so it's also fine. But as I was saying, that we will, or what we in general basically want to design this. So here in the log analytics, what we want to log in is the amount of failed attempts coming out from the global attackers in this VM, which is exposed. So for this, we need a specific audit log, which we will focus on, or which we in general need to look at here. And this we first in general will try to create it, because as we logged in, we didn't had a login failure, we had a success. So to this you have to in general create it. So as you can see here, these are the logs, and now what I will do is go on my remote desktop connection and then try to connect again, and we will type just a random password, and it says the login attempt failed because of wrong password. You can go and click refresh here, and we'll try to find. So here is our new log, which is audit failure, as you can see it here with the event ID 4625, and this is the event ID which we will focus on in our whole tutorial, in our whole project, because we want to keep a log of all the login failures. You can go and click and you will see all the details here, and it will give you the reason of why it was the unknown username or bad password. It has all the details of which the account name where everything it was or the person tried to log in, and this event, or that's the number that we will focus on in this whole project. Now what we can do is, as we know now what we have to focus on, we can go on to our next steps. So just before we move on, I also want to show you a bit of details in general of how you can find out where the IP address came from or who tried to log in. So here you can see the source network address. That's the IP address of me in general, as I tried to log in, and it's not my real IP, as I have I have a VPN set up, so it's not my IP address. And also make sure that if you do this, you can also use a VPN to mask your IP. And yeah, basically this is what we will see in the source network address, which is the IP address of the person who tried to log in. And I will also quickly show you what or how we will use this in our SIEM. So what we will do is we will use an IP geolocation API, and in this is how we will feed the IP to this and take out all the information what the geolocation gives us and send this information to our SIEM, that is the Sentinel. And this in the Sentinel, that's basically where we will create our map and where we will see everything on where the attacks came from, including the geolocations. So as I said, certain times like things are quite slow on the virtual machine when you initially start, and it's quite normal. It can be that it crashes again, and as it happens to me quite often in the virtual machine. Here you can just do everything without giving in any data. You do not need to necessarily sign in, and you can just start browsing. And yeah, I will show you what we will be using to get the geolocation and feeding this information into our SIEM, which we will configure ourselves. We will make a custom configuration, which I will also show in the later parts when we will get to that point. It's still quite far to this point, so don't worry. There are quite many where you can go through. We will be using specifically this one for our information of our project here, and the main reason being that I have a subscription where I can get a lot of geolocation. This also has a free subscription where you can have up to 1000 logs or 1000 IP addresses for a single day. So you can, after that point, it does not work. So you have to wait the next day to basically refresh the other inputs. But I think if you want to just look at it and see the tutorial and see how it works, I think that is quite enough. So as you can see, we can just go and copy this and put this here. And once you search, it gives you all the information of what is the IP, the country name, state, city, latitude, longitude, and this is what we will use, the whole, or basically everything in general. We'll use all of this to put it into our SIEM and design our map and see where the attacks come from. So yeah, now we can just minimize this, and what we can do is, right now I go to my command, the command prompt, and try to ping the virtual machine that we have here, or what we have created. So you can see your IP here, or you can also see your IP here where it says 23. Just with this, and then it will show initially that the request times out, and now what we'll do is we go back to our virtual machine, and basically what we will do is we will disable our firewall for this virtual machine. Now you can just go to the Windows firewall. You can on start, you can type wf point or punct msc, and through this you can get into the Windows firewall settings, and then you have to make sure that you turn off the firewall for all, and this we will see once we get into the Windows firewall. So here, as you can see, that currently it's on for all, and this we want to change. So here, make sure that you just click off for all, click on apply, and then okay. So what you'll see is that right now the firewall is off for all for every single profile that it is. So once this is done, this is basically now making sure that everything is, there's no firewall, there's nothing which protects this VM, and that now we can just, yeah, anyone can just get in. After we go through this, what you will see here is that now the ping starts working, and you can just make sure that we stop the ping. And afterwards, right now, what we have to do is we will use the PowerShell script that will make sure that we create this custom log. In general, what you can do is you can also copy this. I will put a GitHub link for this. I won't type everything. Maybe there will be a video about the code in general, but I'm not sure if I'll make it. Or in general, the other option what I can do is I will just make an explanation in the GitHub file about the whole code. which will help you understand what it does and what things are useful. But also, in general, what's important is that there are only a few lines which you have to focus on and not much, which I will talk to you about it. So on your virtual machine, what you have to do is you can go on PowerShell, SEE, which you can see here. And once it's loaded, all you have to do is just paste the code. So when you will run this code, it will show you all the attempts, and as you can see that we already are under attack. Our VM basically is already under attack. It calculates all the logs. Here you can see the latitude, longitude, destination host, username that they are trying to put in, and where it is from, the country and everything. And yeah, this will keep on running and it will tell you all the things. So good that we already are under attack and there's the attempts, so we can see all the, or on the map, where all the attacks are coming from in general. And you will see that all the logs are stored here. So when you go on file, so these are hidden. You can go on run and type this and then it will show you. And here it's the log with the text document where it's saved, where the logs are saved. And you can see all the logs here in general, where the attacks are coming from, and this is what we will send to our Sentinel to design it. Now what we will do is we will now go to our main workspace, go to our log analytics, go here to our basically our log. So now we will create our own custom log in the log analytics workspace. Just go on tables, select new custom log. Here when you want to select the sample log, just remember that the sample log actually exists in our virtual machine. So here, this fail RDP, make sure that you just select all, and then on your main computer go on Notepad and then just copy all and then save it anywhere where you want it to appear. I'll just save on the desktop. And here when you go and select a sample log, click this and then click next. In the collection path, make sure that you put the right path. So that's the path which exists here. Here you can see that it's in program data unveiled _ RDP, and then you can click next. You can give this a name, and you will see that here there's the _CL, which is basically the extension towards the custom log, and then you can click on create. Here you will see that it's completed. It takes a few seconds, up to a minute, to show up. So when you'll go here and type, it won't show. Usually it also works when you just reload your portal and then it shows up. There's also usually the possibility. but yeah, it takes up to a minute or something like this. So we can just wait till it shows up. We can try and reload again and then see if it works immediately, and if not, then we wait a bit and come back to this in a while. Okay, so I will just pause the video and then come back when it's ready. So now, as I type it, you can see that it shows, and you can just click on run, and upon a few seconds you'll see all the data here generated. So what you will notice in general is that all our actual data which we need is in this file raw data, or in this filter raw data. And now what we want to do is we want to extract all these things separately. So for this there are two options. One, what you can do is you can create a streamline in this, where you use all the process of the DCR method, which is quite tedious and quite long. And the other option is that you can just create your SQL programming here. I have already typed it on, and I will also add this in the GitHub, and you can just copy and paste. So here, when you see, make sure that you do not copy and paste exactly the same way, because can be that your file name here that you saved your table is different. So this you can change, and then when you run it again, you will notice that now we have all the separate labels and filters here. And just quickly make sure that here what you see is proper, and there are different logs entered. Once you have done this, after this process, now what we will do is, now we will go and create our map in the Sentinel, and then put this and all the data that we have into the Sentinel. So we just go to our Sentinel that we created, and here there's the overview of all the things that you can see. But what we have to do is we have to go to workbooks and create a new one, as we will just make our own. So here you can edit and just remove these, as we are not using these, and just click on add and add a query. So here it's the query which I also have it saved, so I will just put it in my GitHub as well. It's quite similar to the one which we used for our log analytics as well. So it's quite similar to it. Here what you have to do is make sure that for visualization you make it map, and then size, it depends, I'll just keep it full so that it's easier to see. Just make sure that you run the query, and here you see the map with all the points, and now here you can just basically customize a few things. I will keep it at this point latitude and longitude, but usually there can be times when somehow this crashes, or somehow doesn't work properly. It has happened once with me, when I was recording this lab, but I will just for now keep it like this. And for metric settings, here I will use label, and metric value, we can keep it as, and then now you can see basically the country and the IP address where the attempts have been made. So as I said, like there was already attacks which were happening, and these are the logs which has been at this moment updated. So we already have been attacked, or like attempted brute force attacks, I would say, like close to 200 in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes or something like this. So yeah, like it's already quite in. And then you can just see different IP where these were attempted. And yeah, we just apply and then save, and towards you can just click on done editing, and then also you can save this so that you basically know where it is, and also most importantly that then you don't have to type in again, and make sure that you have to make the map again and things like this. So these are not things that you will be required to do afterwards. So what I would do is now that maybe like for the night I will just keep it on, and in the morning you will see like how many attempts that were made. Maybe I will come back in like 1 or 2 hours to check in again and see how it is going on. Like I will also just make sure that this 5 minutes auto refresh, so it just refreshes on its own, and then everything is updated, and hopefully we see a lot more attacks, and which I'm pretty sure of, and then we can at the end see how the map looks like and count how many attacks do happen. So it's been like I would say 12 hours or something like this, and what I realized that somehow my virtual machine crashed just after I stopped recording, like after just 10 minutes. So I lost all the progress for before, but then I just went back and rebooted it again. So the previous attacks that we saw won't exist, but we have like a lot, and we can now reveal it. So here you can see in the map of all the attacks that our virtual machine had. So from all around the globe you can see how so many people tried to get in to this virtual machine. The highest from a single location was Brazil, but in terms of the country, it's Venezuela. As you can see, like they were like really at it, I would say. It's more than 10,000 just from Venezuela. Turkey, India had quite a lot going on. So this, when you see the others, I think these are all the small ones who tried to get in as well. Like there are some from Russia, like 8. I'm quite surprised that it's just 8 from Russia. There's Ethiopia, you can see, which is, I think these were the ones who were at the very start of me rebooting my VM. Then there are some attempts from USA, from Belize, Peru. There was Sri Lanka who got in, Philippines. There were quite a lot. Like I was quite surprised that there was nothing from China again, because I was expecting China to be on the top. So, and I mean, these are only attacks done through the remote desktop. probably there's, and I'm pretty sure that there's even more attacks done as our CNB is open, our 445 is open through the internet, so many try to authenticate through that process. But I mean, this in general, this map you see, it's only taking up the attempts to get in to authenticate using the remote desktop, so nothing else. Yeah, I'm pretty surprised with the amount for just this time, or just like some hours, I would say 12-14 hours, and you could already see, like, if you just go and count, like, it's more than 25,000 attempts. So, like, what you can really realize with this, that, like, no matter what, once you're on the internet exposed, your IP is exposed, no matter who you are, or like if you're a big brand, if you're like a company, if you're any person, like, people are just going to get into it. Also, what I want to point out is, like, in general about a security topic, is that if you see this log, maybe I can try to zoom in, or so, yes, and then if you see the username that people have tried to attempt, like, I see the most being admin or administrator, such things. Like, you can see, like, the list is really long and go on all the way till the top, and then if you see, like, it's all administrator or admin, or with A capital being, or everything being capital. So just it's really important that you see that the most vulnerable username is something like admin or administrator, or yeah, things like this. So make sure that you do not have your username as administrator or admin, because it's really easy to get in, or really easy to guess your username. The other thing is that, as I just talked about, the amount of brute force attack that you see here, it is quite clear that once you're on the internet, once you're exposed to the internet, your IP is exposed to the internet, you will be a target. So make sure that you have a good security practices, such as, like, having a very strong password so that no one can get in. I think the best practice, in my opinion, is the multi-factor authentication, and for this you have many things. Like, you can use a token, you can use your USB, you can, I think the most known one is a authenticator app, like, which I think many use, and this should be a very good, in my opinion, very good practice that you do for all your accounts. Like, make sure that you use MFA everywhere that's possible, and yeah, like, really, like, I think the reason for me to show you this map, the reason for me to show this whole demonstration, was to make you realize how susceptible anything on the internet is. And, like, it's really important that you, like, when you see here that no matter where you are, like, there will be attacks, and that you in general should make sure that your accounts are safe. So really keep in mind that if you have your username as admin or administrator, you are, like, really easy target. And if you don't have good passwords, and you don't have MFA or two-factor authentication that is enabled, I think it's quite easy for someone to get into your system, or get into your device or account, anything, and just, be
get in and do things which you don't want to. So yeah, that was about it. That was the demonstration. I hope you enjoyed seeing the attacks, seeing the whole process, and yeah, like you can also try this yourself and see how different this map looks like. If you're from a different region, can be that there are different waves of attacks. Can be that you have attacks from other countries as well. So yeah, it's a very fun project to do and get to learn about this process. So yeah, I will put all the codes and my GitHub link to get the codes for this as well. And like, yeah, you can just go ahead and try it out as well if you're interested.